All right, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I want to thank everybody for coming out to the Springboro Tea Party's Reaffirmation of the Bill of Rights rally. This has been in planning for a little while, and we've been putting a lot of time and effort into it, and every last penny we could to try to get this bad boy to happen. So if anybody has good favor with the man upstairs, say a little prayer, and hopefully we have clear skies throughout the whole event. I'm just going to take 2 minutes to talk about this, and then I'll bring in my next guest, which is Dave Davis, who runs the Liberty Market of Kettering. Again, he is promoting non-GMO foods, healthy foods, raw dairy milk, and things of that nature. So definitely make sure that you visit his store and become a regular patron, because of the fact that he's taken the time to make sure these resources are available for you. Show him your patronage and show how much you approve of that. Real quick, I'm going to go into about the NDAA and the FEMA camps real quickly. Jesse Ventura had an episode on his show Conspiracy Theory, I think it was during season 1, about the police state. You want to know how accurate this thing was. It aired once. I think it re-aired once, and it was quickly removed off the rerun list off of True TV. In many cases I hear on Time Warner Digital even, it was erased off the DVRs. This episode was so accurate and explained exactly what the FEMA camps were under H.R. 645 that the congressman to help authorize that basically played stupid and said it was about Martians and space aliens. I mean, knowing he's on camera, he actually had the audacity to say it was something along those lines. Oh, I didn't think it was about that. What it is about FEMA camps that were actually started under the Rex 84 plan during the Reagan administration in the event of illegal aliens basically rioting or whatever the case may be. This was a secret government program that was implemented, and you can understand at the height and hysteria of the Cold War why something like that might be in the process of being put together. In the event of the beheading of the government, which the Weather Underground hoped to do back in the 70s, was the fact that it had a continuity of government program. So if something were to happen to the federal government, they would, if you ever watch Star Trek Next Generation, when the saucer section is able to detach from the rest of the ship, that they have a battle bridge on the rest of the other half of the ship to go attack while the saucer section with the family gets out of the way. Same idea there. It's a continuity of government situations to take care and fight off your enemy, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to have a contingency plan. But then you got to ask yourself the question, with a contingency plan like that in place, how could it get out of control? And that's something we need to worry about. October 17, 2006, President Bush signed into law the John Warner Defense Authorization Act. The law allows the president to declare, quote, a public emergency at his own discretion and place federal troops anywhere throughout the United States. Under this law, the president now has the authority to federalize National Guard troops without the consent of the governors in order to restore public order. The president can now deploy federal troops to a city which eliminates the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act, which basically is Caesar crossing the Rubicon into Rome. This is something we need to worry about here. Unfortunately, at this particular point, Pompey Magnus has not only left Rome, he's totally left the country. So we have no counterpoint to Caesar. In short, Obama can now declare martial law anytime he sees fit to do so. Just real quickly, going through this here. On October 1st, 2008, the U.S. Army's 1st Brigade of the 3rd Infantry Division began the stateside mission under U.S. Northern Command, also known as NORCOM. It was the first time that an active duty Army unit has been assigned for this type of mission. They are known as the Consequence Management Response Force. They are responsible for responding to terrorist attacks and restoring order in case of civil unrest. Among supposed humanitarian duties, their specific job is to provide crowd control and traffic control and to subdue unruly or dangerous individuals without killing them. A sample of this you saw during Katrina in New Orleans after the hurricane came through. In addition to the standard weapons, the 1st Brigade has been equipped with mobile roadblocks, spike strips for stopping vehicles, shields, batons, beanbag bullets, and taser guns. Now you ask yourself, do you really need this type of stuff? I mean, do you really, really need this type of stuff? And yet the federal government, Dianne Feinstein and Joe Biden want to take our constitutional amendment of the Second Amendment away. And people, and I've had this debate with my stepdad on this particular topic. Oh, we don't need assault weapons. You don't need high magazine clips and things of that nature. BS. Just because technology has improved does not mean it gives the federal government carte blanche to have the latest technological weapons, and we're stuck with black powder musket rifles? So our constitutional right to own black powder rifles should not be infringed? Really? That's unacceptable. And the fact that Feinstein would introduce any type of legislation such as this, she should have been immediately censored and tried for treason against crimes against the Constitution. They went after Joe McCarthy in the 50s over just questioning people for being affiliated, even remotely affiliated with the Communist Party. Remember when congressional hearings used to actually matter? When Barry Goldwater would get you in an inquiry and he would ask you a question, you try to sidestep him, boy, he went after you. He went totally after you. And this is unacceptable. Not against Goldwater, but unacceptable that we don't have congressional committees that actually have some pith, have some real validity, and start saying, hey, you're doing wrong, we're going to come after you. And the Congress has abdicated their duties to check not only the Supreme Court, but the executive branch. They've been given power to the executive branch for the last 30 to 40 years. And this is unacceptable. And the last governor to stand up for states' rights, arguably, was George Wallace. Whether you agree about the issue or not about the integration of students at the time, the bottom line is he was standing up for state sovereignty. And he knew he was the last state to have the chance to do so. And he was up against Bobby Kennedy, and with the National Guard in his face, the problem is he blinked. He was the last governor to stand up for true states' rights. Again, I'm not proposing that we should agree with slavery or separate but equal or anything like that. I think the local communities can decide how they want to have their school systems run without something egregious such as Common Core telling you what you should do, what the standards should be. Teachers getting 50% of their pay withheld unless they follow the Common Core agreements that they set forth. This is nothing more than nationalization of education. This is the very thing that Reagan campaigned against in 1980, that he was going to abolish the Department of Education and get rid of it. Shortly after he was inaugurated, he was shot. And then after that, he was basically told, I would assume, that you either comply or next time we're not going to miss. So he doubled the Department of Education. Unacceptable. But Reagan had to compromise with Congress somewhere to get the defense spending he needed playing high-stakes poker with the Soviets so that way he could bankrupt them. And that's what he did with having proxy wars and everything else. He actually went against what George Washington advocated about a non-interventionist foreign policy, which seems to have been our guaranteed diplomatic agenda ever since Truman has been in office. We go invade Korea on UN standards? Unacceptable. The Gulf of Tonkin resolution, the Gulf of Tonkin never happened. It was fabricated. It took 40 years for them to unclassify it. Even McNamara said it never happened. And why isn't McNamara in jail? He was the one that told Johnson to go for it. This is unacceptable. We lost 58,000 of our men over in Vietnam. We should never have been there. In '62, JFK had signed an executive order abolishing the Federal Reserve with the stroke of his pen. That order still stands. It's never been rescinded. So as of at least 1962 for sure, the Federal Reserve is a fraudulent and a terrorist organization by definition that has control of our money supply, and Kennedy tried to send the power back to the Treasury and to Congress to start coining money again. That law still stands. We need to start doing something about it. And the one thing that Dennis Kucinich did while he was still in office was that he was bringing up articles of impeachment against President Bush, and he was right to do so. And one of his charges of impeachment against President Bush was the use of signing statements as an executive line item veto. It's essentially what they were doing it for. Saying, well, I'm going to pass this law, but I'm not going to follow this, and this, and this, but I agree with this. Newt Gingrich was one of the proponents for an executive decision veto. That is reserved for governors, not for presidents. Because if you allow a president to have a line item veto, that is way too much power. Because no matter what law you send on his desk, he says, I'm not going to oblige by this, heck with you. And that's just too much power for one man to have in his fingertips. Last time I close with this. There are FEMA camps all over the United States. There are some near here in the southwest Ohio area. There's one up in Lima, right off of I-75, near a rock quarry. You can go to SpringboroTeaParty.com. There's a complete list of what's known facts that we can find about where the FEMA camps are. And I would encourage anybody to get a camera, film something, take pictures, and expose this thing for what it is. Because obviously the barbed wire that's facing in is to keep people in, not to keep people out. And you got to ask yourself, what type of nation puts forth gulags to be able to house its own citizens? And under NDAA, they can arrest you just for us simply talking about this issue today and black bag you and vanish you. This is not America. This is not Mussolini's Italy. This is not Hitler's Germany, and it sure as hell isn't Uncle Joe Stalin's Soviet Russia. Arguably, yes. So in Ohio, there is Camp Perry. It's a site renovated, once used by a POW camp to house German and Italian prisoners of World War II. Some tar paper covered huts built for housing these prisoners are still standing. Recently, the construction of a multiple 200-man barracks have replaced most of the huts. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus, FEMA detention facilities. There's data needed on these things. If you can find more information, feel free to add to it. Lima, there's a FEMA detention facility, another facility located in a near Old Stone Quarry near Interstate 75, railroad access to property, fences, etc. This is something right out of the movie Journey to Subador, where basically they show how they were basically training people to the Treblinka camp to have them eliminated. Now, we saw what happened to the Jews, and we raised holy hell about that, and we actually have a major remembrance of that, and it's called the Holocaust. You want that to happen to Americans? You know, there was a famous guy in Germany, he basically said, well, first they came for the engineers, and since I wasn't engineers, they didn't come for me. First then they came for this particular group, that group, this group. And because I wasn't any of these people, I didn't stand up for them. Then they came for me. And since there was no one else to speak up for me, that was it. So it's time we started saying enough is enough. Don't care about what Carson Palmer's doing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Care what Mike Turner's doing for you in Congress and hold him accountable. So on that note, I will bring up my next speaker, because one of the things we need to worry about is making sure that we have the decision to choose what food we want to put in our bodies and not have some government agency, an IRS committee, or something else say that you can or cannot have this candy bar or this cantaloupe or whatever else you want to have. It's our choice to decide if we want to drink raw milk. You know that song by Hank Williams Jr., Country Folk Can't Survive? You know why? Because they're healthier than you and I. They're not eating McDonald's every day. They've got their own food on the farm.
Give me shelter, don't leave me behind. It's your last life, don't leave me behind. So much pain now, don't leave me alone. Under the cellar door, beneath the floor. So get ready to turn around, 'cause it's your last life to bring me down. So much pain now, I've seen this before. Under the cellar door, beneath the floor. I'm losing to the floor. I've had me enough, but I still want some more. Come on, give me some more. I've got no time for love tonight, because there's someplace else I'd rather be. A higher place in my so-called society. This red light's in my rearview mirror, and another bridge is burned. There's no turning back, I've reached the point of no return. I've reached the point of no return. I want it all and I want it now. I want my cake and eat it too. I'd like to burn the candle at both ends, it's true. When will it stop? Well, nobody knows. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. There's no end in sight, and I wanna do it all again. Come on, let's do it again. Stuck here in no man's land, headed out to parts unknown. I've been under the radar, but now my cover's blown. Looks like my luck's running out this time, and another lesson's learned. There's no turning back, I've reached the point of no return. The man is moving up on me fast. Looks like it's the end of the road. I'm not gonna make it home, I got no place to go.